gas debate with the first of its kind home ban in the state of Oregon.
Let's finish the job this time. Let's cap the cost of insulin for everybody at $35 and unite the country. We've been sent here to finish the job, in my view. When we do all these things, we increase productivity, we increase economic growth. So let's finish the job.
You heard it there. Finish the job. Those three words forming the central theme of President Biden's State of the Union address tonight. From the economy to drug costs, from infrastructure to Ukraine, the president touting his accomplishments and laying out goals for the second half of his term and potentially beyond. Well, thanks for joining us. I'm David Molko. The speech was the president's first in front of a divided Congress and had both style and substance that drew cheers and jeers, with the president at times seeming to spar right back. NBC's Alice Barr with some of the highlights.
The President of the United States.
President Biden tonight stepping into a Republican-controlled House chamber.
Speaker, I don't want to ruin your reputation, but I look forward to working with you.
For a State of the Union address aimed at bridging partisan divides.
There's no reason we can't work together and find consensus on important things in this Congress as well.
The president seeking to persuade inflation-weary Americans the economy is strong.
With the help of many people in this room, 12 million new jobs, more jobs created in 2 years than any president's created in 4 years.
His pitch directly to the public comes as recent polls show most voters think the country is headed in the wrong direction. The president trying to convince them otherwise, touting his legislative accomplishments from pandemic recovery to infrastructure.
We've been sent here to finish the job, in my view.
While he acknowledged it will take time for Americans to feel the effects. President Biden vowing to stand up to China, with controversy over that spy balloon elevating a tense and complex relationship.
If China threatens our sovereignty, we will act to protect our country, and we did.
And as Russia's war on Ukraine approaches the one-year mark, the president pledging continued support.
As long as it takes.
The Ukrainian ambassador to the U.S., an honored guest of the First Lady, sitting alongside the parents of Tyree Nichols, advocating for police reform after their son's brutal beating.
When police officers or police departments violate the public trust, they must be held accountable.
It's one of many domestic priorities for President Biden. Republicans hammering the president over crime, border crossings, and the economy. President Biden maintaining optimism.
Because the people of this nation are strong. The State of the Union is strong.
As he eyes a 2024 re-election bid. In Washington, Alice Barr, NBC News.
And you heard some of the president's claims and statements there. Our Verify team is looking at some of those moments right now. They are methodically fact-checking the president's speech, so we're going to have more from them tonight on KGW News at 11. Let's get to local headlines now, beginning with our homeless crisis. And today, two journalists with the KGW News team witnessed a shooting at a Portland homeless camp. They were working on a broader story in the middle of the day when the shot was fired. And while you'll see how people there reacted in those moments after, we want to note you will not see or hear that gunshot itself. This violence coming at a camp police describe as a hotspot for crime, one the city already had plans to sweep and eventually to replace with a safe rest village. Blair Best and one of our photojournalists were there.
My photographer and I were at a large homeless encampment near Willamette Boulevard when we saw two homeless men get into a fight. Then we heard a gunshot. One of the men fell over, got up, and hobbled off into the woods. A fight between homeless people ended in a shooting Tuesday morning. This homeless camp in the St. John's neighborhood of North Portland has slowly grown into what Portland police are calling a hotspot where they patrol daily. The city posted notice last week to clear the camp. As we were reporting on this story, we witnessed a fight between some of the homeless people living in this encampment. Shortly after, we heard a gunshot and watched one person fall to the ground. There was screaming to follow. Portland police arrived about 10 minutes later and actually interviewed us as witnesses. This really just goes to show the dangers that can come with some of these encampments. The victim and suspect both ran off before they arrived. None of the people living in the camp would speak with police about what they saw. Even before the shooting on Tuesday, this camp has been on the radar of city officials. The city plans to build one of its safe rest villages at this very location. That plan has been a sore spot for the people currently living there. We spoke with some of the campers about that before the shooting.
And then they don't help out the people here.
So they've told you guys about this tiny home village that'll open, but they haven't said that you'd get a bed.
No.
No, they don't do anything.
And I've lived here for 6 years.
Would you want a spot in the tiny home village?
Oh, I would take one, yes, I would. And I think everyone would here.
Right next to the camp is another fixture in the community, the Belmont goats. In protest of the camp being removed, someone cut a hole in the goats' fence Monday night, letting them out.
Well, I got a call from one of the people who lives in the encampment that direction about 3 o'clock in the morning, 3:30.
Robin Casey, who works with the Belmont goats, says it's not clear who cut the fence.
You know, we're kind of just trying to wrap our heads around why somebody would do that.
Casey says someone from the homeless camp helped find and return the goats.
I was like, oh no, they're gonna think one of us homeless people did that.
Whoever it was left a note. We showed it to those living at the camp.
People don't know where to go. People are desperate. Sweeps are cruel, inhuman.
Portland police say they were originally told that someone was shot in the leg, but once they arrived, they were unable to find the shooter or the victim. Now, the mayor's office is also releasing a statement saying that this shooting just underscores the need for temporary shelter sites and safe rest villages. Blair Best, KGW News.
And we're so glad Blair and Ken are okay and appreciate the work they do every day. Okay, we've got an update now on the search for a missing Gresham man. He has been spotting riding the Max a day after he first disappeared. So let's update you. Police say 22-year-old Wesley Ash was seen on the train yesterday. His family says he left Gresham on home at Sunday without his phone, wallet, or identification and did not return. They say he is developmentally delayed and needs his medication. Police and family are now focusing their search efforts on Max lines. Anyone who sees him is asked to immediately contact police. Well, 25 years after his original conviction, a Washington County juror found a man accused of killing a Lake Oswego woman guilty for a second time. Billy Lee Oatney was first convicted in 1998, though in 2015, the Oregon Court of Appeals vacated his conviction after it determined his attorney had not provided adequate representation at that trial. So Oatney was retried and today convicted for the 1996 murder of Susie Larson. Now, here is what we heard from the victim's cousin, followed by the man who was her fiancé at the time.
He looks at the world as potential prey. He's a dangerous individual that never should see the light of day outside the walls of a prison.
And I urge you to put him away for a life, true life. Because if you don't, in 3 years, he's going to be out, and he's going to be able to do that again. And there are going to be more dead young women out there.
Larson's wedding was just a few weeks away. Oatney was an acquaintance who had promised to make her earrings for her the ceremony. Instead, he strangled her and dumped her body in a park. Oatney was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. More than 7,000 people are now confirmed dead tonight following that powerful earthquake that struck Turkey and Syria. And as the sun rises in that region for a third day, rescuers are working to locate survivors with frigid temperatures, ongoing aftershocks, and really time running out. We are also hearing incredible stories of survival, including a baby rescued after being born in the rubble. Now, the strongest quake, a 7.8, struck Turkey early Monday morning, with its impacts being felt right across the region. NBC's Matt Bradley with our update.
Tonight, a state of emergency in Turkey. Rescuers still digging for signs of life, and amazingly, they're still finding it. Rescuers using a jackhammer to reach this man covered in dust, pulling him out of the rubble. And this survivor loaded into an ambulance to applause. This boy, a Syrian refugee, found alive in Turkey, first responders giving him water. And this toddler in the Syrian town of Cengiz, covered in debris, no signs of life, but then, incredibly, brought back from near death. Here in Adana, Turkey, we found emergency workers overwhelmed. You can see scenes like this all over southern Turkey and northern Syria. Hundreds of mostly volunteers working side by side with professionals trying to find anyone who could still be alive under these nightmarish scenes. Fatah and his family live across the street from this building. The earthquake startled them awake. His building didn't collapse, but so many of his friends and neighbors weren't so lucky.
Always we will see them. People was drinking coffee from their balcony. We will saw them. We know them. Just next door.
And now, all gone.
No one.
Many of the volunteers worked by hand. Some were injured. What made you decide to volunteer to do this? It's for humanity. We're all humans, he told me. I'm doing my best to save a life, even one if I can. Elsewhere, the familiar call for silence. Rescuers listening for anyone who's trapped. Sometimes prayers are answered. Back in Syria, rescuers say this baby girl was born in the rubble and pulled out 3 hours later. Her mother died. Tonight, she's in a hospital, the only member of her family to survive.
Absolutely heartbreaking. You can see from those images the need across Turkey, Syria, and beyond is so great, and a local organization is now doing what it can to help. Brian Clerkley talked to the president of an association now raising money to keep people healthy and warm.
A 7.8 magnitude earthquake hit southeastern Turkey, and so about 10 cities got affected. As far as we know at this point, one city is completely wiped off the map.
As the people of Turkey and Syria work to find survivors of the devastating earthquake that struck the border of both countries, local Turkish Americans like Melike Kayem are working to raise money for her people back home. She's the president of the Oregon Turkish American Association. She's been frantic for the last few days. She still has family and friends in Turkey.
My family, by a stroke of luck, is not affected. My brother was supposed to be in one of those cities for a business meeting that day, but there was a snowstorm in Istanbul, so his flight got canceled the day before, so that's why he didn't go, but he could have been there.
More than 6,000 buildings have collapsed in Turkey alone, and the death toll rose to more than 5,000. Kayem says even though her family was not affected, she still feels like the people living in the earthquake zone are her brothers and sisters. She's from Istanbul, which is on the opposite side of the country from where the earthquake hit.
And we are trying, as the Turkish community here in Oregon, to get together and raise funds and collect donations to send over to Turkey.
If people want to donate, they can go to the Oregon Turkish American Association website. In the past couple days, the association has been able to raise thousands of dollars. That money will help people in desperate need of things like medical supplies.
Friends and neighbors, they're coming through. So they're donating to our fund, earthquake fund, and they're donating to our charity drive. And so we are just so blessed that we have this strong support from our community.
Kayem has a message for the Syrian people who are also trying to recover from the earthquake.
Our hearts go out to our Syrian neighbors. It is one human tragedy on top of another. So our hearts are with them.
Bryant Clerkley, KGW News.
They certainly are. You are watching a special edition of KGW News, and still ahead, why rising car thefts are creating a new headache for some drivers, even if your car isn't stolen. Plus, changing the way we search online, how AI could soon be coming to a device near you.
I'm Matt Safino. We had the rain early, then it cleared off. Right now, the moon, which was full a couple of days ago, playing peekaboo with the clouds out there. Pretty nice night, 45 degrees. We're going to get a little bit of dry weather, then some more rain, then it gets colder next week.
In tonight's Verify, a rise in car theft is causing some insurance companies to stop issuing new policies under certain circumstances. Now, this reportedly is impacting parts of Oregon and Washington because the change depends on where drivers live as well as the vehicle's manufacturer. Ariane Daytil takes a closer look.
Buying a car can be stressful, and according to a viral social media post, so could buying car insurance. This tweet, with more than 900,000 views, claims a rise in car thefts of Kias and Hyundais is causing major insurance companies to stop issuing new policies. But is that true? Let's verify. Our sources are the Highway Loss Data Institute, the City of Seattle, and insurance companies State Farm and Progressive. Thefts of Kias and Hyundais are on the rise. Among 2015 to 2019 model year vehicles, theft claims were nearly twice as common for Hyundai and Kia vehicles than all other manufacturers, according to the Highway Loss Data Institute. In Seattle, thefts were up more than 360% for Kias and more than 500% for Hyundais from 2021 to 2022. In Wisconsin, the amount insurers paid out for stolen Kias and Hyundais was 30 times higher in 2021 than in 2019. So, what's going on here? The Institute says it's because many Kias and Hyundais lack electronic immobilizers, a feature standard on most vehicles that prevents thieves from bypassing the ignition. That's led insurance companies like Progressive and State Farm to stop issuing new policies for Hyundai and Kia vehicles in some areas. A spokesperson for Progressive told Verify, quote, "During the past year, we've seen theft rates for certain Hyundai and Kia vehicles more than triple. And in some markets, these vehicles are almost 20 times more likely to be stolen than other vehicles." So we can verify, yes, some car insurance companies have stopped issuing new policies for certain Hyundai and Kia vehicles in some areas. Both Progressive and State Farm say they are not canceling any existing policies. With your Verify, I'm Ariane Daytil.
In financial news, Federal Reserve Chairman Jay Powell offered a bit of cautious optimism on inflation. Now, during an event in the nation's capital, Powell said inflation is beginning to ease, though warned it has a long way to go. The Fed chair also said more aggressive interest rate hikes could still be necessary, and all of that, you can imagine, sent markets on a bit of a roller coaster. They first rose on the inflation comments, then dropped over potential rate hikes, and ultimately rallied to finish higher. The Nasdaq, the big winner here, up nearly 2%. Well, there's been a lot of talk about artificial intelligence recently, and Microsoft announced today it is coming to its Bing search engine. The update, Microsoft says, will allow users to chat with Bing to get more detailed answers to searches. It uses technology from the company behind the chatbot ChatGPT. The new search engine is live in a limited preview on desktop right now. Microsoft says it'll be available on mobile in the coming weeks. Well, Eugene is now the first city in Oregon to ban natural gas in new homes. In a special meeting last night, the city council approved the ordinance by a 5-3 vote. Now, this applies to new residential homes that are 3 stories or less. So think single family houses, duplexes, low-rise apartments, and so on. That ban is set to start on March 9th and critically will not affect homes already under construction.
The ordinance applies only to new construction, which are buildings that haven't begun construction yet, and actually it applies to permit applications for new low-rise residential buildings that are received on or after the 30th of June. So they're buildings that would likely begin construction at the earliest in midsummer.
Well, supporters say this will help the city move toward its climate goals. Those against it say they worry developers will now choose to build homes in other cities instead. All right, Matt Zaffino joins us now. Matt, the rain moved in, the rain moved out. It turned out to be a pretty nice evening after all.
Yeah, the sunset was great, and we've got the moon out there right now, too.
Hey.
At least we did a minute ago. Let's take a look from our Wells Fargo Skycam. Okay, it's hidden behind the clouds.
A little spooky, right?
It is, a little Halloween-esque, but you can see the light, the bright spot there in the clouds where the moon is. It was full on Sunday in February, in case you're wondering. The full moon is called the snow moon because it's when we see typically some of our greatest snowfall in North America. I was reading that one of the Native American words for the full moon in February means light sparkling on snow or something like that because of the clear sky that we can get it also in the month of February. So interesting. 45 degrees right now, southwest winds at 5 miles an hour. We look at Doppler radar and you can see there's really not a lot in Oregon. If you look closely, there were some lightning strikes across western Washington. That's where the bulk of this storm was focused. Now, we certainly have had our share. Still snowing up on the mountain right now. We've had at least 6 inches of new snow. The winter weather advisory continues in the Washington and Oregon Cascades until 4 o'clock tomorrow morning. And we're hanging out of that wind advisory in the Pendleton area until tomorrow morning as well. So again, still some pretty wintry weather up in the Cascades and in parts of eastern Oregon. The rainfall, though, not very heavy, only 0.07 of an inch at the Portland airport. We managed to pick up 0.18 downtown, 0.2 of an inch in Salem. So some decent rainfall amounts, nothing huge, of course, until you get up on the Olympic Peninsula. And 1.57 inches there is kind of a run-of-the-mill winter day, right? Because they get so much rain up in the Olympics. Our high was 51 today here in town, and that is exactly average for this date. So we're running normal with our temperature so far. Notice Hermiston hit 56. We're going to see that in Portland on Thursday as we warm up a bit. And there is some rain on Thursday, but probably not until after sunset. So things are looking good for the next couple of days because really I don't think we get much, if any, shower activity tomorrow. It's all centered farther to the north now. The center of this storm is up around Ketchikan, so it's staying that way. We'll catch a warm front from this system to bring us some cloud cover tomorrow night and into Thursday. But tomorrow we should get some pretty good sun breaks. Let's look at the pattern here. Here we go. The rain coming in Friday. Friday looks like a wet day with the rain coming and going throughout with this weather system here. Then it dries out mainly for the weekend. Saturday, Sunday look mainly dry. Sunday night, there's a weak impulse right here coming on in. Then it gets interesting on Monday because colder air begins to drop on down from the north. Now watch the pattern here as we go from, snow over the Cascades and on the east side, a little bit in the Coast Range. That's Monday night, but by Tuesday, the ribbon of green, that's the rain, gets skinnier because the snow level will be dropping down to about 1,000 feet, maybe even a little bit lower as we go into Monday night and Tuesday with this next system. That's the Friday one. The next one, though, on Monday night and Tuesday coming down from the north. So we'll have to watch the potential for some more cold air next week. Right now, though, looking for that moon, it is 45 degrees and the freezing level was at 4,800 feet, but that was at 4 o'clock this afternoon. It has dropped. Showers on and off tonight, but really a lot of dry time, and then partly sunny tomorrow with a high of 48. There's the 56 on Thursday. Notice the rain, but that should be after sunset, so dry for Wednesday and Thursday. Showers on Friday, and the weekend mainly dry, and then Monday night and Tuesday is when it starts to cool off again.
I was going to say a sweet spot for the weekend considering it is still February.
Yeah, that's not, remember last year around Valentine's Day, we had that big ice storm, so,
And then more rain and more rain. Oh, par for the course.
Yeah.
Thanks, Pat. Coming up, fetching brews instead of sticks, and all for a good cause. Stay with us. Well, check this out. Somebody in Northwest Washington is suddenly incredibly wealthy after winning last night's $754 million Powerball jackpot. The winning ticket was bought at a Fred Meyer in the city of Auburn. That's a suburb south of Seattle. Lottery officials say it is the 9th largest jackpot ever, and the winner will be able to get either payments over 29 years or take the cash lump sum. That's $406 million. All right, take a look at this. Dogs and kegs. Yeah, a bit of an unusual pairing, but all for a good cause. This is the Canine Keg Pull. I think that's self-explanatory, thanks to Sun River Brewing Company and the Bend Ronald McDonald House.
100% of the proceeds from this event support Ronald McDonald House, and Ronald McDonald House is a home away from home for families that are traveling for medical care. Everything Ronald McDonald House provides for families is complimentary, so it is our fundraising efforts out in the community that support our event. So every dog here today pays a registration fee. There's also donations being made and sponsorships, and all of that will go to cover the cost of families that need to stay with us for weeks or months at a time while their child's receiving medical care or hospitalized.
More than 100 dogs and owners signed up. This was the Keg Pull's 9th year in action. And guess what? We made it to the finish line of this special edition. So here's what we're working on for KGW News at 11. Clark County schools are tackling rising rates of fentanyl use. We're there as they work with parents and students tonight to try and save lives. Plus, some Oregon parents fighting to hold on to pandemic-era funds, why they say it is a lifeline for their children living with disability. That's coming up tonight at 11. If I don't see you then, have a great night.